Hey, everyone. I just realized I got distracted for a moment and I ran a minute late, and I apologize for that. So, hopefully, if anybody's looking for me, they'll find me if they came here to hear the live, this week's live. Hey, everyone, I'm Dr. Fred Blum. And this topic this week, I was very intrigued by it as I was thinking about what I was going to speak about. And it's, natural motivation, subtitle, How Not to Eat That Frog. And if you don't already know what that means, I'll explain it in a couple of minutes. And I wanted to address this topic because I've struggled with, motivation. And we're going to talk about what that means at times in my own life, professionally or in other ways. And I know I've seen it a lot with my clients over the years. And I think that's because what motivation is very misunderstood. And the reason I would give for that are the reasons, really the same two reasons that I give for why so many of us aren't happy, despite, reading every self-help book and going to every seminar, why so many people are still not happy. It's why so many spiritual or conscious people are trying out there. Maybe this is you trying to follow your bliss, but not finding a whole lot of success in the world. Or why so many successful people, and in this case, I mean that they make all the money that they want, often come to me wondering why they're not happy, despite doing everything that they were told would make them happy. So the first reason I say, those two reasons I was describing, the first one has to do with looking outside of yourself to create an internal experience. Okay, so let's break that down. I mean, you're trying to find something out there, right, to make you feel a certain way in here. Now, this is huge, and we've all done this to some extent throughout our lives. So the first pillar of my work, it's called true nature. It's where I actually, and I've discussed this at length in other lives, but it's really about waking up to who you really are, beyond the identity that we all create out of fear and insecurity when we're very young. And because your identity or your ego, it's not really able to find happiness, period, right? So that's not its job. Its job is survival, not happiness. So, your ego figures, because all it wants to do is survive. So it says, hey, I've kept you alive this long. Why rock the boat? Why try something new? Why take a risk? So you have to understand what the goal of your ego is not happiness. Now, the second reason why most motivational strategies don't work is the second pillar of, in my work, what I call mastery. And basically, mastery is about mastering the invisible forces that shape our lives. So who can guess the reason that mastery, in my work, there's a sequence, right? Why does mastery come after true nature? Hey, Angela, how are you? So the reason that mastery has to come after true nature is because, in my experience, and I think many people's experience, if we can use the mastery tools, right? And they're really cool. Really what mastery is about mastering the invisible forces that shape our lives. So you learn about energy and all kinds of things like that. And there are people who can go right through the mastery thing and get pretty good at it. But at some point they realize if I'm still coming from my ego, it doesn't matter the cool shit I can create out there. I'm still not ever going to be happy. So we start by getting to that point of true nature. We get to the place where we recognize that our very intrinsic nature is already happiness. It's already peace, freedom, peace, clarity, right? So once you really see that, you don't have to seek it outside of yourself anymore, which is pretty cool, right? So now you can go outside. You could still create those games out in the world, but you create them just for the joy of creating them. You just go out and play all day long, right? Because win or lose, your happiness isn't at stake. It's not tied to the outcome, right? So that's when you see people flailing around, right? Like trying all these super advanced methods for productivity or for manifestation or whatever, but they're still just not having that good of a time, So first, start by having a good time. That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to be talking about natural motivation today. And this is something that to me sort of creates a bridge between both worlds for me, between true nature and mastery. Okay. Now, a big issue for most people regarding motivation is that they try to do what? They try to find that motivation outside themselves, just like we were saying a moment ago, either through trying to get like super excited, like psych themselves up about what they're trying to do. Like kind of a Tony Robbins. Well, let me put it this way: you do that one of two different ways. Like the Tony Robbins version is like to get in state, right? Like you just get yourself all pumped up on the inside, and then I can do anything, right? That's one version of this. The other version is you try and find some reason why you're excited to do the thing out there. Okay. Now, look, to be fair, either of those methods can work sometimes if all you're trying to do is get shit done. But it's always going to feel a little bit forced. It's always like you're somehow still adding stress to your system. So what I want to talk about is how you can do this in a light, joyful, effortless way. So it's not sacrificing being effective or productive. In fact, just the opposite. I find you can be much more effective this way. So it's actually what we're saying is better results, less effort, less stress, right? Sound cool? So I want to kind of touch onto the idea for a little bit between what I call power and force. Now, wow, I just realized I may not be able to show you the diagrams as much as I wanted to. I'm realizing that I don't know how to do that from StreamYard. I can do it on Facebook, but I don't know how to do it. Let me take a quick look around. There's something right there. It says share. I'm going to figure this out. There it is. Share screen. Sorry about that, folks. I probably should have figured that out before I came on, but here we are. Share screen. Dun, dun, dun. Let me make sure we have the right stuff available. Hold on. Yeah, here's one. And here's the other one. Okay, perfect. So right there. Boom. Okay. Okay, we're figuring this out. So please let me know in the comments if you can see my screen now. Somebody out there, give me a quick heads up so I know I'm on the right track here. Anyone there? Otherwise, I'm just going to have to go ahead and assume, which I would rather not do, but you know what? Oh, there we go. I see him now. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate that. All right, let me make this big. So this is, we're talking about levels of consciousness, Dr. David Hawkins. And what we're talking about here is understanding like how our different energy levels will create, oops, I don't want to write on the screen. I just want to move it up. Our different energy levels will create different experiences of how we experience motivation and something like that. So you can see, is there a way? Yeah, maybe make it a little bit smaller. It's too small, darn it. I don't think I can make it. Yep. All right. That's weird. It only goes from 50 to 100. Yeah. All right. So we'll just have to scroll it up and down. But you can see the scale goes from way down here at the bottom, where we start on this left-hand side there with shame, guilt. What's that next one? Apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger. As we move up in this direction, from the bottom towards the middle, we're building energy. We're building a higher frequency with each of these states. So there's a point right in the middle here called courage, okay? And that is the line, as you can see, between power and force. So let me come off of sharing my screen for a moment here. Okay, awesome, we're back. So the stuff we're talking about here, trying to psych yourself up, trying to find some reason outside yourself, all those reasons to try and get yourself motivated, they're fine in their way, but they're all based in this idea of force. Okay. And we'll come back to that chart in a moment, I think. But the idea I want you to see is that real motivation, what I'm calling natural motivation, comes from the upper side of that chart, what we're calling power. So let's look at that again for just a moment. And then I'm going to move on to the next thing. But I want to have this open like this. So before I share, I can see what you're doing too. Perfect. Okay. I got to go through all these steps again. Okay. So, yeah, you guys should see my screen again now. It's the upper half of this scale that I want you guys to pay attention to for a moment. So again, this is Dr. David Hawkins, Hawkins. If you want to look at this, research this more on your own. But what I want you to see right now is that we build up from those lower vibrational emotions. And someone might say, well, I was sad and now I'm really scared. How is that progress? Well, it is progress, at least according to this model, because fear, although it's still uncomfortable and not super resourceful, is a higher vibrational state than sadness or shame. You see, especially shame. So we move from fear to desire to anger. People have a big problem with anger. But when you're really being authentically angry and you're experiencing it, you're one step from the line where you move from force into power, right? Anger, both two more. Pride, again, it's not a state that people strive for, but just see that it's on the way to something, right? Courage. Now, most people would agree. This is where there's no argument. Courage is a good thing. Courage means you're becoming more yourself. You're less in reaction to the world, and you're more coming from yourself and your own. You're on that path to discover your own inner knowing now. Okay, so we move. You can see we don't have to go through this whole chart, but we move along this scale now from courage to neutrality, willingness, acceptance, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, and finally enlightenment at the top of the scale there. Each one of these is actually, I believe, exponentially increasing in frequency as you go up the chart. Okay, and I just want to share with you this piece on the side, which I think is really cool. The lowest level, it's actually the other chart. Hold on. It's this one. Okay. Oops, sorry. Here we go. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So same basic, come on, stay there. Same basic principles, okay? From the lowest frequency to the highest frequency. So it's still correlating with Dr. Hawkins' chart. In fact, I'll do this. That's this one. I'll put it over here so we can sort of look at them both together. Well, if I can get it to move, come on. It's weird, it won't move. There it goes. All right, there we go. So, okay, looking at the chart on the right for a moment, you see that we're moving from the lower levels of the Hawkins. Oh, come on. Sorry, I'm scribbling on the chart. It's hard to get it to move. We're looking at the lower level of the Hawkins chart here, and we're talking about this as the ego. And then moving into the linear mind. Now, courage is right here, just at the edge of the linear mind. And then as we begin to move through that stage of courage, we get more into the upper states, neutrality, willingness, acceptance. Unfortunately, the colors don't match here exactly, but you get the idea, okay? Acceptance, reason. And then we begin to shift into the highest level beyond the spiritual reality, what Dr. Hawkins calls enlightened states. Joy, love, joy, peace, enlightenment itself. And then you can see there are these really cool stages that go along with that. Things are done to me. You're the victim of your life. Things are done by me. This is where courage starts to show up. Things are done through me. This is where you begin to get into this space of effortless creation that I'm talking about. And then as you progress more in spiritual mastery than anything else, things are done as me, where the doer, let me take off this screen share now, where the doer really essentially disappears. And all that's left is the doing. If that, well, don't worry about that. That's, for most of us, that's a little ways down the road. But I just wanted to share this idea with you of what it can be like to move yourself through life with that sense of ease and freedom, without feeling like everything is forced, right? So I hope this is making sense so far. I told you I was going to explain this idea about eat that frog. Originally, that story, some of you guys probably know, comes from Mark Twain. He said, if I have 5 things to do tomorrow and one of them is I have to eat a live frog, well, I'm going to get that one out of the way first because it'll make everything else seem easier by comparison. And I mean, I guess from a certain twisted way, that makes sense. I actually bought into it myself when I first heard it. But, you know, and then later that same idea was stolen by self-help guru Brian Tracy. And he wrote a book called Eat That Frog, basically saying the exact same stuff. Here's why I think this is the dumbest idea ever. Look, if I know myself and I know that, that like tomorrow morning, the first thing I have to do in the morning is eat a frog, I'm probably not even getting out of bed that next day, you know? And worse, I'm going to be thinking about it all night, the night before. I'm probably not going to sleep well. It's like, it's an idea. Oh yeah, I'll get the worst thing out of the way first. But energetically, it's a terrible idea because it makes you, it creates tension in the system just by thinking about it. Okay, so here's where the energy part, where mastery comes in, right? Because in case I wasn't clear, the part about waking up to your true self, that's the first part. And then we get to this part called mastery. Now, honestly, the waking up part takes some time. You know, I don't want to make it sound like it's going to happen instantly. And we're kind of assuming that level of the people that are listening so we can talk about the mastery part. But it doesn't hurt to know about it. I just want you to understand that mastery is much more powerful from a place of true self than it is from ego, right? You know, but really, honestly, what's more important in our lives than really waking up to find out who we really are behind this mask, this ego? But that's for another conversation. If this makes sense, send me some love, give me some hearts and likes and stuff like that. Let me know that this works for you, you're understanding where we're at. So natural motivation. Natural motivation is all about energy, right? So now, instead of thinking about eating a frog, which to me is going to be like, it's going to take so much energy. I'm not going to get energy from doing that. I think about what would be the most energizing way to start my day. Now, that may mean get up earlier so I can exercise or meditate or whatever your thing might be, to have a good breakfast, to take a walk, get outside. What is it that's going to start you at a high energy level, right? And then what you do is you use that energy like momentum to carry you into your first task. Now, some tasks are time sensitive. They've got to be done at a certain time of day or whatever. And I get that. But whenever possible, what if you like front loaded your day with the stuff that you love to do, that feels easy, effortless, that gives you energy, okay? Now, what does that do? That begins to energize you throughout the day, so you're building energy. So now, maybe at some point you really do have to, metaphorically eat that frog. Okay, awesome. Now you're in a much more resourceful state, right? Because you've got a much higher level of energy and enthusiasm now. So at that point, by the time it's time to eat your frog, oh, am I frozen? Sorry. Okay, I just saw your message there. Am I still frozen? I don't know why that would be, except bad internet. There's somebody hit me quick with a message. Dun, dun, dun. Looks like maybe, yeah. All right. Well, I'm just going to go forward because that's all I can do, right? Hopefully, you guys are seeing this. And we're just about done, okay? But what I wanted to say, just to be clear, is that when you get to that point where it's time to eat that metaphorical frog, you've built all this energy up. So at that point, it's going to either be easier to deal with, or maybe you've created a new possibility where you don't even have to eat the frog at all. You've seen it in a different way. So that's what I wanted to do with you guys today. I wanted to draw that distinction between motivation based on force, based on ego, the lower side of that scale, Dr. Hawkins' scale, versus creating your motivation from the inside, right? Natural motivation based on rising up on Dr. Hawkins' scale, based on understanding how to use the events of your day to energize you rather than to deplete you. Okay? So sorry if there were technical difficulties. Hopefully this all been resolved, but we'll just have to move forward as though it's all working properly. So that's all I have to share for you guys today. Anyway, I do want you to know that we have a couple of things coming up, and one is very imminent. So we decided we were going to let people in the 12-week course that I'm doing, which started last Thursday, as late as on week 2, because there were a few people that didn't make it in that we thought would. So we have some space. And if you're interested in that course, which is going to be a really fun journey together, just reach out to me, put a message down in there or DM me, and I'll be happy to get back and we'll talk about if that's a good fit. We're just going to have to do it soon. And I also have a couple of spots available for one-on-one coaching. If you're interested in that, also DM me and we'll set up a conversation about that, which will also be really fun, I promise. So with that, once again, as always, I appreciate you guys for being here so much. And I will certainly look forward to speaking with you again next week. Until then, peace. Have a great day.